I'm Terry Burrell, and I have been in the business for about 40 years. I've done Dreamgirls, I've done UB, Into the Woods, Swinging on a Star, or as we used to call it, Swinging on a Sweat Ball. And I've done a lot of regional theater, especially here in Atlanta, which has been my home for the last 20 years. I wrote a one-woman show called Ethel, which has been produced 3 times, and hopefully will have a future once this dream that we're having is over. So here's my story. First of all, let me just say that, as I have often say to my husband and to friends of mine, nobody takes care of their own like show people. Back in the 70s, late 70s, I met a young man by the name of Michael Robinson. He already lived in Chicago, and he was hired to do the hair and the makeup for all the women in the show. He was very nervous when he came in, and it was my first real professional job. It was the national company of bubbling brown sugar, and I was like, hey, well, start on me. Anyway, we really became very close. And a few years later, he came to New York. He lived on 57th Street. Anybody and everybody went to that apartment to get their hair or their makeup done if you had a photo session or whatever. And he eventually did Dreamgirls, as a matter of fact. Anyhow, and UB, my first Broadway show. It was now we're talking about the early 80s or so. And my sister and I had a act that we were doing at a club called The Bushes. And Jennifer Lewis, that's right, the Jennifer Lewis was our opening act. And Michael was running a fever. Nobody knew what the fever was. So he was in the hospital and they were running a battery of tests. They knew there was something wrong with his blood. They just didn't know what it was. Well, of course, what we did not know until maybe a year or so later, this condition that he had was called AIDS. Well, my sister and I, as I said, and Jennifer were doing this act at the Bushes. We did it 3 Sundays in a row, twice a night, okay? Michael would sign himself out of the hospital every Sunday, come to the the club. He would do our hair, he would do our makeup, he would insist on staying to touch us up for the second show. And then he would go back to the hospital and sign himself in. Unbelievable. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. We loved him so much. And of course, we lost many, many, many young men to that disease. But that is my most favorite memory, my most touching. And I was privileged to be with him and share some of that journey with him that he went through before he died. That's my story. I'm Terry Burrell, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this. Bye.